In three, two. Hello and welcome to the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. My name is Greg Tepper. My co-host for today is the man they call Josey, Andrew Utz.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Are you in your wife's phone as Andrew?
That is an excellent question.
Because you're in
Um,
my phone as Josey.
okay, might be in some family members' phones as Josey.
Mhm.
I think that was a stipulation of Joni's and my relationship was like, hey, we got to go by birth name here. So
Yeah.
I think she may have made the change, but honestly, I haven't gone through. This may be a good time for me to go through her phone.
Sure. No.
Now that you
What
mention that.
I want you to do, what I hope you're hearing, is go snoop through your wife's phone. No, that is not what I'm saying. Allow me to tell you relationship advice for everyone. Don't do that. Bad idea. Um, it's funny because when I met my wife a bajillion years ago, she's not old, to be clear. She doesn't listen to this podcast anyway, but I'm just trying to stay out of the doghouse. This is not going well for me.
It's
Um,
going great for
it's going
me.
great. Um, when I met my wife, I put my phone number in her phone,
Mm.
and I did not put like my name. I put like a stupid nickname, like a really dumb nickname that's not suitable for air.
Oh man,
Um,
okay. That was my
and
next
it was
question.
up until like I want to say like November of this past year that it was still in there. And then
Oh,
she was
that's
like, you know
awesome.
what? It's probably to the point like if somebody needs to get a hold of you, like I should change it. So now it's like Greg parentheses like roommate, you know. Um, I don't know. This is the RYLAcast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. We do thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. Coming up here in just a little bit, our conversation with Roger Jahnel, who is in the running for the chief legal counsel of the RYLAcast. We're hopeful. Fingers crossed.
We need to have like a sweep, not a sweepstakes, but some type of game show where at the end we crown the legal counsel.
Where whoever loses has to be our lawyer. Oh my gosh, what a great idea that is. These are all just A plus ideas.
Thanks.
We'll hear from Roger coming up here, Roger Janelle coming up here in just a little bit. Um, hey Josey,
Hey,
um,
Greg.
you know where I was last week? Briefly, and by briefly
Uh,
I mean for a couple hours.
um,
You do know where
oh,
I
I
was.
do know. Yeah, sorry,
I texted you about it.
I was trying to play podcast. Where were you, Greg?
Uh, I was at good old Camp Hoplitzel.
The Blitz. You were
I
at the
was at the
Blitz.
Blitz. Never heard it called that, and now I'm not going to call it anything else.
I think that's a
Um,
Winter Summit name that.
I was at the Blitz with the world's greatest camp director, Dr. Dana Mackison.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay, you got an
yeah,
audience with Dr. Mackison.
I did. So all that is to say, um, camp season's here, guys. Like you may not think about it. Like you may be somebody who like you turned in your staff application, and that's great. You should have, because I believe the day we're recording this is the deadline. Is that right? Or it may have passed.
Maybe a couple days past the deadline, but
Maybe already passed.
go ahead and get in there. Get it in there.
Can't relate. Already got my staff application in.
Same.
But yeah, you might think, oh no, camp, months and months away. Oh no, the grind don't stop, Josie. Um, Dana and I, Dr. Dana Mackison and I were up at the Blitz meeting with our friends from Camp Havlitzel to go through like some of the nitty gritty, some of the hammering out some details as far as what camp is going to look like.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, good. I didn't know if you had anything to add to that. I'm
no, I was just in a meeting. That's the
no,
that's the whole thing.
I'm interested because it's February to peel back the curtain. You may have already pulled it back, but it's early February, so it's like for me the runway we're on the runway to camp.
Mhm.
But I'm interested in your perspective. Like, was it just like a rush when you saw the gates of Hoblitzel? Was it like it hit
Well,
you?
it is. It's all. Allow me to tell you something about going to Camp Hoblitzel during non-camp
Mm,
time. Okay. And
okay.
I would imagine that you guys who went to Winter Summit felt a similar thing, which is when you go to camp and it's quiet and not a million degrees outside, it's weird. It feels like a different planet. You're like, wait a second, all this feels familiar, and yet, like nothing, like none of this, it all looks the same, but none of it feels the same at all. Like it's quiet. Like you never realize
Mm,
how loud like the ambient camp sound is until you go there and there's nobody there.
okay.
It
I never
is
thought of it like that.
wild. And then, of course, I went there and it was like 50 degrees as it usually is in like
Hmm.
February, but it was so strange.
Mm,
Like, I don't know. Um, but I will tell you that we're going to be at Camp Hoblitzel again this year.
that's
And
great news.
and yeah, and we've figured out a few of the different things. So yeah, we were hammering out details with our friends at Camp Hoblitzel and getting things ready for Camp 2024, which is right around the corner.
Right around the
Yeah.
corner.
So yeah. Also, it is very. Here's the other thing. It is very like intimidating, and I hope he hears this,
Mm.
to be in a meeting with Dana because you never know how little you know about camp until you were in a meeting with Dana, who's just like rattling off all of these things that like you would have to sit down and like these down. He's just like, oh no, it's this, like this and that. And I'm like, oh, I mean, that makes sense. I'm glad you're the camp director, not me.
So really, really living up to the world's
Oh
greatest camp
man.
director moniker.
Like I feel like I know a decent amount about camp,
Hmm.
and you want to talk about a humbling experience to go into that. Anyway, Camp 2024, it's gonna happen mostly because of Dana, and I will be in meetings too. This is the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. A lot to get to today. We are going to start things off by passing it over to the man they call Josey, Andrew Utz, who has two computer screens in his office. I found out before we were recording.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Greg, for just blowing up my spot there. But only focused on one, and that's the one with your face on it.
Thanks, bro.
Speaking of right around the corner, February 23rd, pop quiz. Do you know what that is the anniversary of?
February 23rd. Um,
1905 would be the year
oh,
if that
okay. No. You just go ahead and wave the white flag on that one. I was like, man, February 23rd, like did the Rangers sign someone? Yeah.
Yeah, a little before the
Yeah.
Rangers time. But speaking of lawyers, February 23rd, 1905, a Chicago lawyer called three buddies to a meeting, and that Chicago lawyer was the one and only Paul P. Harris. And we are on the cusp of the
Oh,
anniversary of the first Rotary meeting of
wow.
Rotary International.
So it's going to be 119 years?
Matt,
1905?
yeah, yeah,
Did I do
1905.
it?
You did it. We're gonna just go straight to the interview with Roger, and
Guys,
that's it.
we're not getting any better.
um, yeah. So our buddy Paul Harris, we're coming up on that anniversary, and that's your big segment. No, I'm just kidding. Um, one of Paul Harris's quotes that I found interesting, and this was not in 1905, it was circa 1935. He stated that Rotary is constantly in the process of change, and it's a changing world. We must be prepared to change with it. The story of Rotary will have to be written again and again. And that's going to lead me into my big segment. But I think that's a really important piece,
Hmm.
that change can sometimes be feared by a lot of people, but if you maybe learn to embrace it and learn to plan for that change, probably opens up a lot of possibilities moving forward.
Hmm.
Um, and if I can just keep on rolling,
By all
we're
means,
going to go to your favorite, the Harvard Business
we
Review,
love it.
in an article that dropped today by Jenny Fernandez, Catherine Landis, and Julie Lee, titled "Why Collaboration is Critical in Uncertain Times."
Hmm.
And the gist of the article is talking about, the past couple years we've had substantial crisis in business, whether, tech sector, all these sectors. And humans have a tendency to kind of shrink when additional pressure is applied, no matter how flexible and open to experimentation you are. There does come a point with this additional pressure, mindsets change. And in the face of abundant business challenges and scarce resources, natural instincts shift to kind of contract. And this article, it's called "The Scarcity Mindset," is this idea, and it's scarcity is the lack of necessary resources.
Mhm.
And what happens is your mental energy shifts and focuses on just the thing that's in front of you. So you expend all of your resources to solve this problem, and then you move on to the next problem. And so you never really kind of get out ahead of it in the wake of all this pressure. So one thing that this article talks about is getting in a group and trying to push back on that scarcity mindset and their strength in numbers with improving your cognitive function and spreading out the spread the wealth in terms of ideas. So instead of being one person who's shrinking away, you're now targeting everybody's strengths to come out ahead and keep the long-term goals in sight. And I find that very interesting as I'm gesturing wildly,
Hmm.
around the world around us. I think it can be easy to be isolated. And it's a good reminder to look at all your options, use your resources around you and really, grow and put people around you that are going to put you're going to feed off each other and put you both in a place to succeed. And
Okay.
that's my little big segment.
I like it.
My little big segment.
That's not a little big segment. That's a big segment.
Big segment.
Um, can I tell you that was an excellent segment?
Well, thank you.
That I think is very resonant. Can I tell you something about Paul P. Harris?
Of course.
Dude, you want to talk about a dude like this is a this look, there's a lot of reasons why, like there's a lot of ways to like have a legacy and like a mark of a legacy, right? Here's one. How many places do you have a statue of you? Is a good place to start. Okay, here is a admittedly incomplete list of places where there is a statue or bust of
Okay.
Paul Harris. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Rotary World headquarters in Evansville, Illinois. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that
Oh,
makes sense.
yeah.
Okay,
Given.
sure, sure. There is one in Bay City, Michigan.
Okay.
There is one that was recently unveiled in Rutland, Vermont. There is
Recently.
one in Mexico City, and there is another one in Madrid. So
Okay.
So this dude, you cannot go anywhere in this world without
Okay.
running headlong into Paul Harris. Um, that's a lot of statues.
And he got around too. I
Yeah.
won't, go into his life story, but he after graduating from law school, he gave himself 5 years to just see as much of the world as possible before settling down. And he did. So, which probably speaks to, Madrid and Mexico City. Obviously, his mark through Rotary is a lot, has extended his reach, but the dude got around
Yeah.
before he settled down and called his three buddies into the office for the first Rotary meeting.
Yeah. It worked. So here on behalf of the RYLACast, we want to say good job, Paul Harris.
Good job.
It's a that's a touching tribute to Paul Harris, who I'm sure I'm sure in 1905 he was thinking, boy, I really hope two dopes give me some love on a podcast in 119 years. Well, here it is. Paul Harris, well done. Well done to you.
Well done.
Thanks, Josey. Thanks for that.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Now it's time for our guest. We had a great conversation with Roger Jahnel. Here's our conversation with Roger Jahnel here on the RYLACast. Oh, Josey.
Oh, Greg.
The podcast is back. We've talked about how back we are. We've gone
so back.
We've gone on record about talking how we've never been more back, as evidenced by our guest today. We are pleased to be joined today on the RYLACast by Roger Jahnel. Roger, what is up, my friend?
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for taking some time to join our little podcast.
It's going better
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. I've loved listening, and I'm excited to be here. Talk about RYLA.
Well, stop, please. No, go on, please. We need this positive affirmation. Please stop. We're doing the come on, more motions. All right, Roger, we're going to ask you to start in the way that we usually ask our guests to start. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your RYLA story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a camper at RYLA in 2018. Shout out Cabin 5 in 2018. We won the Cabin Cup. Still something that I'm very proud of to this day.
Is that still on like the cup?
I believe so.
So
haven't seen it in a while.
It's like engraved. Like I would need to. I haven't. And this is a weird thing about being at camp. And Josey, I don't know if you can relate to this too. I have not looked closely at the cup in a minute.
I looked closely last year, and I want to say it's still there.
2018.
But that may be. I can't remember the origin of the Camp Cup, and I'm sure persons are like punching their steering wheel if they're listening in the car. Because I don't think we're in danger of needing to add another ring to the Stanley Cup, to avoid having overlap of. But yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, Roger, we interjected for the dumbest reason. Please go on.
Oh, all good. But just one final note. Even if it's not on the cup, it's always in my heart.
Oh, that's it's etched right there. That's the only engraving you really need.
Absolutely, but. So my time at camp was really eye-opening in a lot of ways. I was somebody who came into camp being very loud, feeling like I always needed to lead from the front. And I'm sure that people who know me and have had a chance to interact with me know that I still tend to be pretty loud, pretty vocal. But on my second day of camp, I lost my voice totally, went totally hoarse, could barely talk. And it was the best representation of learning to just step back and lead from behind and let others shine that I think I could have ever gotten, because I had heard people talk about it and I was like, yeah, I definitely do that. But in actuality, it wasn't something that I did a whole lot. And so I think that by losing my voice at camp, I maybe learned the most important lesson that I got out of camp that I still carry with me today. And then from there, I came back and was an AC in 2019. I was able to help out with RYLA when we went online during COVID, which was amazing. It was great to have that RYLA experience, even if we couldn't be at camp physically, and to feel some of that connection. And then just recently got to help staff Winter Summit, which was a ton of fun. It's great to see everybody. Great to be back at camp.
So before I ask this next question, what I'm hearing in 2018, you may have lost your literal voice, but you found your RYLA voice.
Oh, that's good.
I think that's the best way that I could have ever put that.
You know what? That's a wrap. Roger, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
We're not. That's an ender, baby. Look, know when you've peaked.
The George Costanza. So what do you do now, Roger? And what's your everyday life look like now?
Yeah, so in May, I graduated from UT Dallas with a political science degree. Go Comets.
Whoosh.
And now, whoosh. And now I am at SMU at the Dedman School of Law, studying to get my JD. So my day to day is getting up, driving down 75 and enjoying all the traffic therein, and then sitting in the law library until it's time to go home and brave the traffic again.
Josey, I know you have a follow up here, but just quick interjection here. Is whoosh a real thing?
It is. Since we're the Comets, that's what we say. We say whoosh, like a comet flying by.
How did I never know this?
Yeah, it's well, since we don't have many big sports, though we did get moved up to D2 this year for some sports, so real big deal. But since there's not a ton of sports, there's not a ton of school spirit. But I love throwing whoosh in there. I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, you go to camp and the Aggies are everywhere. We know this.
Right.
There's also, and this is directed specifically at one person, there's a lot of Howard Payne people. Like, there's a lot of, like, Stingham going on around there. So
when you say a lot, more than one, I think is what you're getting at.
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, I feel like we need to up the whoosh factor in at camp.
I absolutely think so. Every time I mention UT Dallas, I try to throw a whoosh in there, trying to make it more of an ingrained thing in camp culture for those RYLArians who end up attending UTD.
So speaking of school spirit, UTD to SMU, how would you say, if you do, how do you use RYLA in your everyday life aside from traffic and the Zen moments, commuting?
You guys actually contribute to a lot of those Zen moments, so I want to say thank you for that. But I would say that at UT Dallas, I was really involved in a lot of clubs and organizations. I was president of a few different organizations and served in a couple of different leadership capacities. And I think that RYLA really prepared me for working with a very diverse group of people, especially like I was president of my fraternity for a year, and trying to work with 10 college-aged men to lead an organization when everyone has very different ideas of where we should be going and how we should be getting there is one of the hardest things I've ever done. And throughout that experience, I was able to use tools from RYLA. And one of the biggest things was knowing when, or being able to recognize other people's strengths and learning to play on those to come towards a group goal. I was not super big into the social aspect of things. I enjoyed like the alumni relations and that kind of stuff and like the kind of day-to-day paperworky things. So I had a team of people that I knew loved the social stuff, loved getting on campus and getting our name out there. So I was pretty hands off on that and like really let them run with that because that's why they were there and that's what they wanted to do. And so I think that RYLA really taught me about how to identify other people's strengths and how to lean on those when a team is trying to get something done. And I just happen to be in a position of leadership.
Do you know yet like what kind of law you're going for? I don't know if that's a thing. Oh. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if that's come across on the podcast. But do you have to like declare which path you're going for? Yep.
No, it's still very general. Your first year of law school, you actually don't even get to pick any of your classes. So they just kind of hand you a schedule and they're like, have fun, which explains my 8:30s on Fridays, my only class. Not mad about that at all.
Oh,
but
wait. It's your only class?
It's my only class on Fridays.
Oh, that is rude.
But so for right now, it's very general. And honestly, right now, I'm just trying to explore everything that's out there. and just get an idea, because there are laws for everything. So there are lawyers for everything.
Mm.
And I don't really know exactly what my career journey will look like. I know that I love the study of the law. I enjoy the reading, writing, and research. So at least I have that checked. And now it's just figuring out where I want to go. But to kind of circle back to how I use RYLA in law school, coming into law school, there was definitely some nerves. Law school is just such a different environment because everybody there is like such a high achiever and has already proven, that they are academically sound, that they have good extracurriculars. They proved that in high school, they proved that in undergrad, and that's why they're now in law school. And it was a lot like coming into RYLA. It was like, being taken out of just your normal school environment and being put into an environment with all high achievers, people who are driven and know what they want. And so the way that I made friends at RYLA is very similar to how I found myself making friends at law school. It was less kind of generic surface level stuff that I was talking to some of my law school friends about, and more about what our goals and what our drive was for, what we were working towards. And so learning how to interact with a lot of other very driven, ambitious people was something that RYLA really taught me, and I'm really thankful for, because it allowed me to make a lot more friends in law school.
I would just say, just to plant a seed down the road, we are looking for an official attorney of the RYLACast for the various and sundry legal predicaments we find ourselves in. We've already been rejected by other certain notable RYLA alumni who are attorneys who have said absolutely not. So just consider, down the road.
You're early. You're early. But
Still
so we're
got a little
trying to
bit of
get in.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just in case. So then I guess my question, and you've answered a little bit, but I think, you mentioned you came back, you've come back to camp, you helped out with Winter Summit. You are now, I guess it'll be this summer, it'll be 6 years since you went to camp.
Jeez.
No, stop. No, don't you dare groan. Um, my question for you then is, like, what keeps you coming back? Why is it, what are you getting? We all obviously, like, we're all in this for ourselves, and we're all in this to help people out. But, like, what is it that you get out of coming back? What keeps you staying involved in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So my RYLA summer and experience as a camper was something that was really special. It was unlike, like, I'd been to a lot of summer camps up to that point. I had been to like a few like leadership talks and stuff, or like leadership summits for like leading organizations in high school. But the way that RYLA teaches leadership, and the way that RYLA teaches relationship building, and the bonds that are formed in those 6 days of camp were so special to me. And I anything that I can do to help other people have that same experience and have the ability to learn the things that RYLA teaches, to be able to build those relationships. Because I truly think that everybody who goes to RYLA comes out a better person. And if there's anything that I can do to help other people have that same experience that I did, I want to do everything in my power to do it. And just seeing people that I've seen go to RYLA as campers, or more recent alumni that I was able to interact with at Winter Summit, and hearing their experiences at RYLA and how RYLA helped better prepare them for their next steps, is something it's really special. And so to continue to be a part of that environment and continue to help people learn and grow is something that means a lot to me.
And I know we're happy to have you in this environment. Going through your RYLA story here, it's like 2018 was yesterday. When hearing you talk about it and seeing you as our guest today. But now in our esteemed award-winning program, comes the time where we give the guests the floor to plug something. Could be book, movie, podcast, law school, mascot, you name it. But the floor is yours, Roger.
Awesome. Yeah. So for this, the first thing I wanted to plug is the Achievement Center of Texas. It's a center in Garland that works with special needs children and adults. They provide services that allow the students to interact with the community, build life skills, and do all kinds of things. It's an amazing center and organization that I've been very fortunate to work with pretty much my whole life. My grandpa and my mom were very involved in the center, so I think I was taken there before I could walk. And I've continued to work with them, but they do tons of amazing events. And they have, I'm not sure when this is being published, but they have one on March 2nd, the Special Arts Festival, where people will be running different arts and crafts tables. I'll be hosting a table. And so it's just a great way to get involved to, it's a great center that really helps the community in a lot of ways. And so if you're feeling so generous, they have a lot of events where they need volunteers, and I'm happy to always talk about bringing more volunteers in. They also, their website, achievementcenteroftexas.org. If you feel like donating, everything helps. And everything goes straight to programs for the students and helping them get involved and engaged in the community. And then second, I wanted to plug a fun book. I've been getting back into reading for fun, even though I read all day for school.
That is commitment.
Been trying to do a little bit more of that. I got a bookshelf full of things that I need to read. But I started over this past summer, I read this series called Red Rising. And it's like a science fiction dystopian that kind of evolves into this huge epic story. So if you're looking for something fun to read, highly recommend it. The series is 6 books right now, though, so it's a bit of a commitment, but I absolutely love it.
All right. Red Rising.
All right. That's I admire somebody who has to read as much as you do and then being like, you know what I want to do for fun? To take my mind off of this. That's all. And I work with words for a living. That's a lot. I do wonder, do NASCAR drivers go out there and joyride? I don't know. What a great question.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
if you question.
I always loved reading, so maybe it's just I just found my thing.
Yeah. Listen, you've certainly found your thing. He's Roger Jahnel. Roger, appreciate your time, my friend. Best of luck at law school, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
There is Roger Jahnel, our guest here on the RYLACast, going to law school and reading not only for school, but also reading for fun. The man likes to read.
And was awake for our interview. All that
that's
reading.
The thing. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Because I don't know about you. And again, admittedly, the majority of my reading happens before I go to bed. But reading makes me tired. reading books makes me tired. So
same.
Anyway, we appreciate Roger Jahnel popping on with us. It's my turn to bring us home, Josey.
Bring it
Josey, we are recording this on Tuesday, February 13th. Josey, did you watch the football game on Sunday?
I watched the football game on Sunday.
So on Sunday, there was a superb Owl 58. The Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry. If you don't know who won the Super Bowl, spoiler alert, skip ahead 15 seconds. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl in overtime.
Wow.
And we were one of the things that we struggle with in our household is watching things that mom and dad want to watch.
Yes.
And I got to be honest, football super high up on the 5-year-old and 2-year-olds list. Max is more into it than Hank is, our 2-year-old. Because he likes when they run. But then every time they get tackled, every time there's a tackle, he just goes like, uh-oh. And then whenever they get back up, we always have to say, no, see, they're still friends. That is a true thing. But all that is to say that we did find a small respite to watch the Super Bowl. Josey, we watched the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
We non-ironically watched the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon. which
And that
was
was,
commentated by SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick Star.
of course, I
They had a
couldn't
bunch of
imagine
like
anybody better.
they had a bunch of AR graphics, like they'd score and there'd be like slime cannons that went off and stuff like that. I mean, they were doing bits. It was
Mhm.
it was a fun broadcast. Like they were obviously trying to engage a younger audience, stuff like that. But and there's a few things that I think have kind of gone viral around there. They had Dora the Explorer as their officials, like their rules analyst,
Okay.
which was great. And you know, it was good, but one of the things that I want to focus on here is it was a 4-man booth. Well, it was a 2-man, one starfish and one sponge booth. It was SpongeBob and there's Patrick, but then there was Noah Eagle, play-by-play guy, and
Okay.
and Nate Burleson. Nate Burleson,
Okay.
former NFL receiver. I think he's on CBS This Morning and stuff like that.
It
Like
sounds right.
he's kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that's to say, they did have 2 humans in the booth actually calling the game. And one of the things that I found myself really, really enamored by was the way that they were calling the game. Because football, like, look, I work in football. I watch football for a living. And so it was a little bit jarring to, at the beginning of the game, hear Noah Eagle explain things like, okay, you see that yellow line? That's 10 yards away. They have 4 tries to get those 10 yards. And then, like, whenever there would be a situation where they could punt the ball or kick the ball, right? Like, or something like that, he would like explain, okay, well, they can either do this or they could do this and things like that. And I found myself really like enjoying that part of the broadcast because like I never think to do that. Right. I was color commentator for a couple of the high school football state championship games this past December. I never thought once to explain what a first down is. Right. I never did because I think with a broadcast and certainly I think if I would have done that, my producer probably would have gotten in my ear and said, what are you doing?
Yeah, let's pick this up.
Because I think there is a certain level, like a certain like level of understanding that is expected of you. And yet, something we say on this podcast, every podcast is somebody's first, right? Every football game is somebody's first. And I thought that the Nickelodeon Super Bowl broadcast, I'm coming around to it, I promise. The Nickelodeon Super Bowl broadcast, I thought that was a perfect example of meeting people where they are. And finding a way to lower a barrier of entry into something that can be confusing, something that can be intimidating, something that can make you feel dumb, right? For not knowing, like you, like there's probably there. Let's put it this way. The Super Bowl is probably for a large number of people in America, around the world, the only football game they'll watch for an entire year, right?
Right.
Like,
Fair.
They turn on the Super Bowl because it's a cultural event, not necessarily because they are interested to see how the Chiefs pick up the 49ers blitz packages, right?
Right.
They're not into that. And if that's your only way in, if that's your only like entry point, I think it's really easy to go up to that entry point, have people talking over you and talking past you, and just say, you know what, this isn't for me. And so I thought, especially geared at a younger audience, I thought the Nickelodeon broadcast did a really good job of striking that balance between making it an enjoyable broadcast if you do know football, but also if you don't, we're going to help you along. And we're going to get you up to speed as well. And I think there's some lessons for all of us in that. In when you are leading a group, how sure are you that everyone is up to speed? How sure are you that everybody is working from the same playbook, so to speak, and everyone understands the basics of getting there? And how can you find a way to make sure that your entire team is up to speed, and do so in a way that's not going to single somebody out. Do so in a way that's not gonna drive people away or make them kind of go into a shell and stay and not participate. I think that's a real challenge, and it's something that I think it's easy for me. Like, think about it from my perspective, it's easy to just like overlook and just like not think about.
Right.
But if I'm calling a football game, there's people in that maybe who are in that town that want to watch their team play in a state championship game that don't watch football and don't understand it. One of the things that I'm going to effort is trying to find a way to meet those people where they are, because I think that it is the true mark of leadership to make sure that everyone who wants to come along on the journey is empowered to come along on the journey. And so all that is to say, I really enjoyed SpongeBob and Patrick on Sunday, and Larry the Lobster running around on the field.
So more Nickelodeon, and it was effective. I'm assuming your kids sat down with you and enjoyed the game.
Yeah, they absolutely did for about a quarter. And then they were like, can we watch something else? Because the other thing, and this is something else that like you don't necessarily appreciate, buddy, there's a lot of commercials. And when you're not there for the commercials, like, and Hank doesn't care about the commercials.
No.
So yeah, there are a lot of commercials. He was like, okay, I'm kind of checking out here, Dad. We made it through a quarter. So
okay,
there you go. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Meeting people where they are. I think that, I agree with everything you said. Especially now, because to your point, when you're broadcasting a game, not that Bally's is hard to find, but like people go to watch the game that you're broadcasting, right? Like,
right.
It's a cultural phenomenon, but in select circles. So
yes, exactly. And so how can you find a way to meet people where they are? And I think that's something that it's in the back of all our minds. And I think that we would be well served to move it closer to the front of our minds sometimes. So there you go.
That's a great segment.
My final segment. Thanks, Josey. Yeah. Okay. Let me check my notes here. I think that's it. That's all we got on the rundown here. We do thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. We want to invite you to go to our website, which is RYLA5810.org. All sorts of great stuff on there. So many great things that I don't want to spoil it. Go to RYLA5810.org and find out for yourself. And yeah, thanks to Roger Jahnel for being our guest. If you like this podcast, please rate it, comment on it, and tell a friend about the RYLAcast. And here with an antiquated way of telling a friend about the RYLAcast is Josey.
Thanks, Greg. In the spirit of all this reading and lawyering we're talking about, there's the antiquated way. We've talked a lot about Paul Harris in 1905. No tablets really back then. I encourage you to go to your local library. As a great aardvark once said, having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Go ahead and grab that library card and check out a book. And once you're finished reading that book, take a little piece of paper. Nobody's going to police it, and just say, listen to the RYLAcast, and just slip that piece of paper in a very critical part of the book. Maybe the plot it's very climactic, whatever you pick where. And then just do that with every book you read until we have a library full of pieces of paper that say, listen to the RYLAcast, so that when people need a break from reading the book, they can tune in the podcast subscriber of their choice, podcast provider of their choice, to listen to the RYLAcast.
That's great. That's great. Like what we're telling you to do is leverage your local library to do the advertising for us.
Yes. Meet the library where they are and use their vast network of distribution to meet us where we are.
That's going to do it for us. Josey, thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you next time on the RYLAcast.